So, welcome back, everyone. My name's Daniel Koskinen. I work for Go4, which is a consultancy here in Finland, and I'm an accessibility specialist. I'm also a member of the IAAP Nordic Advisory Council. As the only Finnish member currently. So if anyone else is interested, then please, in being more active in the IAAP, please feel free to contact me here in Finland. So next, we're going to have an interesting demo. Sorry, I was going to say one more housekeeping thing. So for those who are joining in late because of technical difficulties, we're very sorry, and we're doing our best to try and fix the issues. Is this app accessible is the title of this next talk. Accessibility specialist and Android developer Eeva Jonna Panula, or Eevis, is going to be doing a live demo. Eevis has done her master's thesis called Towards More Accessible Android Applications, in which you developed a checklist for Android developers how to help them in making apps more accessible. Is that right? So I've done quite a bit of mobile app accessibility testing myself, and initially, notice, I mean, it was rather difficult to get my head around the fact that, you know, why can't I look at the source and just try and find the issues that way, because I have a developer background from the web. So that's how I was used to finding issues. So, and probably for anyone, regardless of what their background is, if they're used to doing web accessibility, there's a learning curve when moving into native app accessibility. Sorry, thank you. We were just asked to move a little bit, so I hope that's better now. And Eevis will be testing an app. Which app is that? Is that mic on?
Yeah. Okay. Now it is. So it's the H&M application. This is so hard in English. I'm just used to saying in Finnish like H&M or something like that. So yeah. But yeah.
And we'd like to emphasize that the aim is not to pick on this particular app, but to highlight the process of testing accessibility. So many of these issues can be found in lots of, or even probably most, e-commerce apps and many other types of apps as well. So without further ado, I think I'll pass the floor to you, Eevis, and let's see how to test test Android apps.
Yes, thank you. Let's see. Yes, okay. I have my starting slide here saying, is this app accessible? A live testing demo, and with my name, Eeva Jonna Panula there. So yeah, hi everyone. As mentioned, my name is Eeva Jonna Panula, or Eevis Panula. And today I will show you a demo of like, well, where I will live test this one app. And I need to check my notes that I don't forget anything. I'm a bit nervous here. And I tend to forget things when I'm nervous. So that's why I'm constantly looking at what I've written there. So yeah, I think like the most important things that I wanted to say here was already said. So before diving into the actual testing, just a couple of more words about myself. So as mentioned, I'm Android developer and accessibility specialist. I'm from Finland. I live actually like one town to the west from here, from Espoo. And I'm also Google developer expert for Android and Women Tech Makers Ambassador. And there has been some weird conversion issue for Android part there. But yeah, so I'm actually pretty passionate about equality in tech, both from accessibility perspective, but also like from other perspectives related to, for example, diversity and inclusion as well. And I really love to share what I've learned. So I write a blog. There's going to be a like link to that later in the end of the talk. And I speak at different events. I'm here today. And then I'm also a disabled person. And I'm just checking that there was again some weird like font conversion thing. So I've made it in like Google Slides and then converted them into PowerPoint and then forgot to check all the small little details. So sorry for these like weird letters there. But yeah, I'm a disabled person. I'm going to say a couple of words about that later in the talk. So I'm not going to go into that one now. And then when I'm doing something that's not related to work, for example, I kayak and explore the beautiful archipelago around here with my kayak. I knit, I do sports. I do actually pretty many different things now that I think of it. But yeah, that was about myself, and I'm gonna just switch here so that I see that what I had planned for today. So what are we going to do today? Well, I'm testing an application, H&M application. So that's like the main goal for the next 30-ish minutes, 20, 30-ish minutes. And yeah, so what I'm gonna test, I'm gonna use a couple of accessibility settings. I'm gonna talk about them in a bit, and then if time permits, it depends a bit on how I like do things and what we find. We might also test switch access, but I'm not promising that I'm going to do that, but there's a chance for that. But what we are going to do for sure is that I'm going to show you and test this app with accessibility scanner. So it's an Android application that you can get from Google Play Store. So you don't need to have any like development environment to use it or anything like that. Then I'm going to turn up the font size, so to the largest. That usually, like in Android applications, that's a great test because it usually, well, you can find a lot of different problems from the app with that one. Usually, like, I think I've never seen any one app that like didn't have any problems with larger font sizes. And then the one, another accessibility setting is remove animations, which is something that I personally use. So like, I don't do animations. They make me sick. This is something I could talk actually about, like give just a whole talk, but just to mention that like all these transitions and animations on phones or on the web, they just make me sick. So I use this remove animation setting. And that's like what's it called on Android, but for example in the web and I think on iOS it's called reduce motion. So that's the same setting basically. So yeah, those three are the things that we are for sure gonna look into, and then if we have time for switch access as well. And if we do have time for that, I just want to mention that well, I'm not a daily switch access user, and like. Well, why I want to say this is that like whatever I do, I like don't look into me as a like example how to use this like tool or like assistive technology from a perspective of daily usage. I'm just a developer who just tries to find problems. So that's like where I sort of do these things. So like that's why I might do things that. If you are like a daily, for example, a daily switch access user, you would say that, hey, like I wouldn't do it that way. So like, apologies. I'm like, well, yeah. I hope you understand what I mean with this one. I'm not gonna continue rambling about it because yeah. But yeah, I think that was all I wanted to say here, and we can switch to the app. Just a sec. This is the like the part when I'm most nervous about, because it's about tech, and then yeah, that's there and here and it's working. Yes, great. Okay, I'm gonna put the clicker down and take my phone to my hand and then open it. So before I'm gonna show anything else, I'm just gonna show the H&M application. I opened it and for some reason it's just giving me a blank page. I'm gonna restart it. Let's see if it shows something. Yes. So here is the the front page. If you open the app, you can see a list of different there's a good word for this, categories or something like that. So for example, here are new arrivals with a notice that sale ends soon, and shop your favorite pieces before it's too late, and then lingerie edit and the new season, which is about home, apparently, looking at the picture. But yeah, basically, I just wanted to show that this is the app that we are testing. So I don't want to dig deeper yet, because you're going to see more about it in a bit. We are going to start testing with Accessibility Scanner. And that is as I mentioned, it's a great tool for testing Android accessibility. It's a version of if you've done web testing, and there are different types of tools like Axe, for example, and there are others as well. I just can't remember them right now. It's been a while since my web development days, but that show you problems on web pages. So Accessibility Scanner also does the same thing, but it doesn't provide you with the source code as easily as, for example, all those plugins for browser. Yes. So yeah, if you want to get this app, if you have an Android phone, go to Google Play Store and search for Accessibility Scanner. I think that was the way. If it's not, then Google probably tells you how to install it. So yeah, I'm gonna click the Accessibility Scanner, and it opens me a screen with text Accessibility Scanner, and then no scans yet. Here's how to scan an app. And it says that turn on the Accessibility Scanner button, and there is a turn on button at the bottom of the bottom right of the screen. I'm bad with left and right. So I'm gonna press the turn on, and it took me to accessibility settings, like the phone's accessibility settings. And then here is a subtitle downloaded apps, and there is Accessibility Scanner. So I'm gonna open it, and it opens a new settings window with a title of Accessibility Scanner. And then there is a toggle use Accessibility Scanner, which I'm gonna press. And then it asks if I'm gonna allow Accessibility Scanner to have full control of your device. And why it's asking that is because it's gonna, when it's working, it's taking pictures from everything on your phone. So it needs to notify you about that. So I'm gonna allow it. There is more information there about why this is, but I'm just gonna allow it right now. And now there is a rectangle with a check mark appearing like a button on top of everything on the screen. And before I'm gonna press it, I'm just gonna navigate back to H&M's app, and then the rectangle with the check mark stays there, and I'm gonna press it. And it opens a menu with options to record, snapshot, turn off, or collapse the menu. And the important things here are record and snapshot. And if you select snapshot, it's just going to take like a screenshot of the screen and then, annotate it with and showing the problems. We're going to get back to that in a bit. But then a record option, with that, it takes multiple snapshots. So you can navigate around the app, take snapshots from different places, or actually Accessibility Scanner takes them automatically. And then like later you can view all the results there. And that's what I'm going to select. So I pressed record and the menu disappeared. And then something that you cannot hear probably, but like my phone vibrated. So it means that it took a screenshot. And then I'm just going to continue navigation. So I'm going to press the new arrivals, which opens a list of different new arrivals, like clothes. And now it took a screenshot, so I can continue. I'm just going to press the filter and sort just to get a screenshot here, or snapshot was the word. I'm going to close it. And then I'm going to select the first short-sleeved mohair plain jumper. And now I got a screenshot again. I'm going to scroll down a bit and then waiting for a screenshot to happen. Yes, it happened. Then I'm going to select the, let's take size S. And then there's a button to add it to the, I don't know in which language I'm thinking about it, but like cart, that's the word in English. And I'm then gonna navigate to the cart. So I have a list of different, or like, actually it's two of the same items in the same, in different sizes. So short sleeved mohair plain jumper in M and L, S in my like shopping bag, as it says on the top. And I think this is all I wanted to navigate now. So I'm gonna stop the recording. So I like dragged the like top tool bar area thingy down, and then it showed the stop button, and I pressed that. And then it opened me Accessibility Scanner after ending the recording flow there. And now there is a like image of the first screen that we saw. So it was the one with different categories like new arrivals and other things. And that actually is annotated with orange rectangles around different things. And those things are like with the orange rectangles, those are things that have some problems there. And I'm just going to switch the view from the, like, I don't know, list view, or it's not hamburger menu. I'm not good with icons and describing them because I usually don't know what they mean. But yeah, there was this like list icon thing maybe, which opened this like all suggestions screen, and there are two tabs. So we can view the issues by screen or by category, and I'm going to switch to view category there. So we can see what kind of different issues there are. And the categories that this work like recording flow, so this is from all the screens there. The categories that the app found were about item labels, touch target, text contrast, unexposed text, item descriptions, clickable items, text scaling, and image contrast. So, well, issues from different categories. And I have to note that usually when I'm testing an app, this is the list that I see. There's usually problems. Almost in every app has problems in all of these categories. Some have more, some have less. And if we want to look a bit more about like what do these categories mean, I'm just going to open the item descriptions category, and that has 24 elements. And then it, like when I open it or expand the section, it gives me cards with, well, titles like element 16, which doesn't tell anything. But, well, yeah, each of these cards has information about the element, like where it was. So screen 2, for example, like it was the second screenshot there. And then there's also like a ID image by which you could get it if you wrote, for example, tests. If you were a developer or tester of this app and wrote tests, so like you can see the ID there. And then there is description of the issue. For example, the first one, the element 16, has text that multiple items have the same description. This clickable item speakable text is save as favorite, is identical to that of one items. And then there is a link to learn more about item description. So that leads you to Google's documentation about this issue. So if you want to learn more about it. And then one more thing from this card, which is not visible, you just kind of have to know, is that when you click the title, so the element 16 in this case, it actually opens like, well, a screenshot where the problem is. So in this case, this is from the screen 2. So it was when I navigated to the new arrivals where there was a list of items. And then there is a like heart-shaped button. Maybe it's a button there. Its role is probably button on top of the image of the like shirt, and it has this item description of like it was saved to favorites. So like it's visible this way, and like you can check what items have the problems there. Then there are arrows, so I could navigate that, okay, the next problem there on this screen is about item label. So it's possible to then navigate through the screen as well. So we first were in the categories, and now it would be possible to go through the like items on the screen. And in this case, the item label, which is a link to the details page, may not have a label readable by screen readers. So it tells more about it. And if we expand the item label in the bottom of the screen, it just adds this learn more item label text there. All right. So this was a short demonstration of accessibility scanner. And I like, if you want to just play around, you can just get it. You don't need to be a developer or anything of an app to test it. So you can test anything that's installed on an Android phone. So that's like, this is a great way to learn things and also like about the possible problems. Of course, I have to say that accessibility scanner is not perfect. There might be false positives as well, or false negatives if it's a, well, I think it's a false positive if it finds a problem that is not actually a problem. But like, yeah, I recommend testing it. And I have to say that I have not tested this particular app with any assistive technology. So no, I don't know if accessibility scanner itself is accessible. So also note there, unfortunately, I cannot answer that question. I just realized that I should do it someday. All right, I'm gonna turn off the accessibility scanner and then navigate to, so yeah, I'm switching to the next item on my list or test on my list there. So I'm navigating to the accessibility settings, and under display, there is this display size and text. I'm gonna go there, and there are two like progress bar scales. Well, it's a like selections of like well, one for font size and then one for display size. So I can switch the size of the text and also size of the display. And I'm gonna first put the font size to the biggest one and then display size to the biggest one, because I have a pretty big phone. That's why I always put the display size to the biggest as well, so that I can actually demonstrate how things look on a smaller screen phones as well. So yeah, now we have the font size as the biggest and then display size as the biggest one. And here is also a preview which shows that different apps. So there is Camera, Chrome, Drive, Maps, Play, and Settings, which don't work really well with the biggest font size and biggest display size, because Camera, for example, it cuts the text from CA, and then there is ellipsis, and then Chrome is CHR, and so forth. So these some things on Android are not that accessible always, even on the operating system level or the apps that, for example, Google provides. And so yeah, you would need to know that this is a camera app to know that, well, this is a camera app and not CA something. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to navigate back to H&M app, and then I'm going to okay, I got a screen saying fashion is fast. It used to be right here and now it's not, but no worries, there's plenty more fashion still here to explore. And then I pressed back and I just got the blank screen. I'm just gonna restart the app again. Okay, now we are back in the the first view. Here, many things scale well. So many texts, well, some of them scale well and some of them are still readable. But then, for example, there is this text that says current estimated delivery time 2 to 7 working, and ellipsis there. So this is actually a pretty common pattern, at least on Android, unfortunately, that if a text doesn't fit somewhere, the container, then it's cut with an ellipsis. And I don't know, is the current estimated delivery time here 2 to 7 working days? Well, maybe it's working days, or yeah, is it weeks? Is it months? So that's why I try to tell all my colleagues that, hey, this is not a good strategy. It just should take more space there. For example, if we scroll down, there's this text, sale ends soon, shop your favorite pieces before it's too late. This is completely it just takes the space that it needs, and it's visible there, and that's good. And yeah. Okay, let's navigate to new arrivals. And yeah. Here are a bit more problems here. I don't remember what the title of this page was. Right now it's the topmost thing there. It's VI. It can be pretty many things there. I honestly just don't remember. But then the final 2 weeks of sale, again, that's working well. That's great. Then if we scroll down, here are different categories inside a horizontally scrollable area, and I can scroll it and things fit well there, and font size scales well. So that's great. Then there is this filter and sort, which I'm gonna open here. The text didn't fit well there, but it was, at least for somebody who knew what they were looking for, it was possible to find there. And then there are these different filter and sort categories. This works also pretty well. That's great. So things everything is readable. It doesn't, text doesn't cut. Then if we scroll down a bit, there are overlapping text. So it's model, then I don't know what's there. It's like product items and then 1,127 maybe. But well, yeah, the text is overlapping, so it's hard to read like those numbers there. All right. Yeah, I could actually continue. Yeah. With going more in details about this. But I just want to say that these are things that I see really often in different Android apps. As mentioned, it's usually like, I haven't seen any apps without these kind of problems. And yeah, I'm actually going to say it in a second. So yeah, that was like what I want to show here. Unfortunately, we don't have time for switch access. So I'm going to stop sharing and we can switch to the slides now. Yes. Okay, great. Slides are visible and there is my wrapping up slide. So yeah, I was testing two things there, like actively testing two things, let's put it that way. So first of all, I showed you how to use accessibility scanner. It found issues in pretty much every category that it provides. I don't remember if it was like all of them, but at least most. So there were like issues with all of the categories. Then I turned the font size up, display size up, and well, some things were not working well and things overlapping and text overlapping. There were lots of places where also like it was possible to read what's in there. It was like text was readable and everything was working. Then the third one I mentioned, remove animations. I didn't actively test it because the setting was on. I did not see any animations. I was happy. I didn't feel sick. That's always like a great thing when using apps. So that's like a 100% pass on that test. And yeah, that was my wrapping up. And I want to say thank you for listening. If you have any questions, you can find me, my contact information from my website, which is eevis.codes, so eevis.codes. And my blog is there as well, as I mentioned about it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eevis. So just to be clear, these were like examples of things that you could test, not like a thorough list of all the things that you should test. So even though we didn't have time to look at switch access, I thought it's probably worth saying a few words about that. Myself, I usually test with a keyboard. I do test those things that you've just shown, but I very rarely, and then maybe a screen reader. But I very rarely test with switch access myself. So what's your experience with testing with switch access? Do you find issues that you don't find with other methods?
Yeah. Well, first, something I forgot to say is that usually when I give this talk, I've been talking to developers. So my goal in those talks has been to provide some ways to test their apps before it's released, so that like they can actually find accessibility problems or like most of them before releasing. And when I talk about developers, especially Android developers, they don't know, or we don't know that much about accessibility. So that's why like it's easier to explain how to test with switch access than with, for example, TalkBack, so the Android screen reader. So that's why I make the decision there to use switch access rather than TalkBack. Because, well, they like with them, you can find most of the same problems, but then it's like for a developer, it's easier to use switch access. But there are some things you cannot find with, for example, talkback, or you can find with like keyboard, like a physical keyboard. So that's why also like I recommend, if there is time, to testing with switch access as well. So yeah.
Yeah, great answer. I sometimes recommend using the speech access as well as a way of highlighting, for example, issues with labels that can be easier for someone who hasn't used a screen reader to get to know. I have one more question myself, and then we'll move to the audience. Because I've mostly done iOS testing, so are there any things you would say are different when that, or someone who's tested iOS, or what they should think about when they're evaluating or developing, or anyway, it doesn't matter how, but testing an Android app, or the other way around?
Yeah. There's one thing that iOS definitely has better accessibility support. Android is catching up with many things, but still iOS has better support. So Android might not have all the same things as iOS. So like when testing it, it's good to check like what's available. Then there are some technical differences. I must admit that because I've been spending so much time with Android, I haven't had time to spend with iOS for a long time. I can't remember the exact differences, but there are some technical differences as well. So when starting the test with, for example, both of them, it's good to check how these different tools work. So like for some, it's just pretty similar experience, but then it's good to like check the differences.
Great. Have we got questions from the audience or the chat? So there's a question over there. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Hi, my name's Anne. I'm a quality engineer from Varian. So our company is developing a mobile app for it's called patient engagement app for supporting cancer patients during their treatment. And so I'm here today, just very curious that you are giving this demo on testing accessibility on Android app. And so I have also a question. Do you suggest that we use different accessibility scanner for different app platform? Like now you're showing the accessibility scanner for Android app, but can you give me like some other options like scanner for mobile app on iOS?
Yeah, that's a really good question. To my knowledge, like accessibility scanner itself, it's available only for Android. So that one app. To my knowledge, I don't know about anything similar on iOS. So similar in a sense that you can get it and that basically like any app with it. On iOS, I know that usually you need to have access to the source code to test it. But I'm not saying that this is the complete truth. I have to admit that I'm not sure. There might be ways, but I don't know. Then
Malin knows.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So on
Please,
iOS,
please.
Sorry, my name is Malin Hammarberg. I work at Funka Foundation. When you test an iOS app, you need to download the iOS coding program that's free online. And then in that, there's an accessibility inspector. So you don't need the source code, but you need to connect your phone to the computer and test it via the accessibility inspector that you get together with the coding program itself.
Yeah, so Xcode.
Xcode, yeah.
You need to download Xcode, yeah.
Thanks.
So there's a question over there.
Hello, Ida Aalto. I work a lot with e-commerce, and as we could see, there was some sort of like kind of common design patterns. Have you noticed, are there, for example, for web accessibility, there are really good patterns and so on? Okay, this is how you should do this in a most accessible way. But the issue with mobile development is that we rely on frameworks. So they work quite, differently depending on the framework that has been used. Have you seen any good like benchmarks or any patterns or some sort of recommendations that have been gathered somewhere?
Like from e-commerce perspective or in general?
In general, just because, for example, a card pattern that has a lot of buttons inside a button, it can be a bit difficult to you probably know this issue. So this is quite difficult to make depending on the framework you're using.
Yeah. Well, from Android perspective, material theme, which is the like recommended component library to use for Android development, it has a lot of good like accessibility notes on each component. So that's a good place to check. And then other like frameworks hopefully have, I'm not saying that all of them have, but hopefully have similar like documentation about accessibility. Unfortunately, it's like not always that much available for, especially for mobile compared to web. But like, yeah, I recommend checking like the framework and then accessibility guidelines or something like that with the like search engine of your choice, and that might bring something. So unfortunately, there is nothing else that comes to my mind right away, like good resources around that. Yeah.
So there were a couple of questions from, I thought we'd pick from the chat. So one question was, do you test with real users as well? Because there might be issues with labels that come up, like when in that maybe are not technically issues from a developer point of view, but then are issues for a real user, or the other way around. You might think this is an issue and then it's not really an issue.
Yeah. As an accessibility specialist, I always recommend testing with real users. So that's like my standing for that. But from a developer perspective, and usually when I give this talk, this is more of a like to catch the first issues there, so that like when, for example, testing, especially if there is somebody who is actually doing accessibility testing, when they get their hands on the like app, then they wouldn't find that many problems. And then hopefully there is actually like some actual user testing as well, so that like the most sort of common bugs wouldn't, or like accessibility issues wouldn't go all the way to real users. So that's like my point of view from like usually when I give this talk to developers. So it's sort of like two-sided answer.
Okay, thank you. There was another question from the chat about automation. So are there ways to automate what you've just shown us?
That's a really good question. Some of things, yes, not everything. On Android, like the Android like testing library, is it Espresso? I'm like, when I'm nervous, I tend to forget words. But like the like Android testing library, it actually integrates like that. There are some accessibility tests that you can do as a like developer, or if you're writing tests on your app, that actually utilize the same set of like accessibility rules and like the engine that's used in accessibility scanner. So it like some of those things can be tested, and then of course like there are ways, like as a developer, especially with the modern Android development, there are tools like compose previews where you can actually preview like these font size issues, for example. That's not really like an automation, but it's a step toward automation there. So yes, there are ways. Not everything can be automated. It's pretty much the same as in web. Like you can find from 15 to 50% depending on a study, like of the issues by like automated testing. So yeah, some of them, yes.
It's time. We still got time for
Yes.
Yeah. Any questions from the audience? There's one in the back over there. Oh, no, there was two in the back. Yeah,
Thank you. Eetu Komsi here. It has been too much time since I've written any code for mobile apps, so this might be a bit off-topic question, but when we think about Android apps and iOS apps, and and for companies who want to create, of course, both, and possibly use some intermediate solutions or frameworks, does that have some kind of effect if both apps, iOS and Android apps, originate from some kind of joint intermediate solution? Would they usually resolve same kind of accessibility issues, or is there some kind of change on how they are transformed to those platforms? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. This is a topic I could dive really deep into, so I try to give a really short answer. Usually native apps, so native Android, native iOS apps, are more accessible than cross-platform development or apps that have been using cross-platform frameworks such as React Native or Flutter, or one of the newest ones is Kotlin multi-platform. That's using with Kotlin multi-platform, Android native apps. So it's the same situation as with Android, but it hasn't yet caught up with iOS app accessibility that well. So but I'm actually believing that that's going to be probably the most accessible solution at some point, because it has the most native code there. But unfortunately, React Native, Flutter apps are not always that accessible. So I would say that the most accessible ones are usually native apps, depending on the developers. So there's always this sort of depending on thing.
In my experience, if there are no roles on anything, then it's probably a React Native app.
That's a good way to finding out.
Okay, there was one more question.
We really need to.
Okay, we need to. So yeah. Sorry. Thank you very much, Eevis, and let's give one more round of applause.